Hello, this is Robert Peters. We are back again, and this today is one of our biggest segments. Now, we started in Ohio talking to Adam Moeller, right, about AI in a sixth grade classroom. After that, I think that was in Cincinnati. Then after that, we went out to California with Valverde, talking to Dr. Mike McCormick about how do you bring this together as far as systems thinking. Then we went over to Knoxville, Tennessee, right? You guys remember that? We talked to Clayton Bradley, an elementary school teacher, middle school teacher, and man, Mr. Hussey. Shout out to Mr. Hussey. Talking about, he's an English teacher, but he talked about more math, civics, and other actual interdisciplinary pieces within his own curriculum that he was really facilitating. Then after that, folks, we went out to Oregon, folks, to talk to Hermiston about some of the amazing work that they're doing with ELL students. Then we went out to LA. Remember, we talked about what it looked like, future focused schools for African American children. And now, folks, we're in New York. We're in Albany, New York with my mentor, Dr. Bill Daggett, to really talk about building future focused schools for all children. You guys have probably heard Portrait of a Graduate, Portrait of a Learner. But what we're going to be talking about today is, what about portraits of future focused systems? What are those pieces that future focused systems truly need? What are those characteristics that they truly have to be successful? So, Doc, I call him Doc. I appreciate you taking your time out. I know it's a busy Friday. Doc, I guess the first question to our family, our future focused family is, as we begin to think about the portrait of a system, what does that look like, and what is the direction that administrators, superintendents, and leaders can begin to think through as they build a portrait for their system?
Well, first of all, Robert, thanks for having me on here this afternoon to talk about what really is, I think, a critical question. Over the last 3-4 years, as you know, Robert, lots and lots of districts, in some cases whole states, have done this portrait of a graduate.
Right.
And they've come up with these skills, knowledge, and attributes kids need. Those portraits are totally consistent with the national research you hear me talking about, the Kinsey research on changing workplace, Deloitte's research, or the World Economic Forum's Jobs of the Future. Everybody is saying the same thing. We got these central skills,
right,
from self-leadership to interpersonal skills, that are not part of our curriculum and is not part of our assessments in our schools. And so what's the portrait of a future-focused district?
Right.
It's transitioning from a 20th century education system or district to a 21st century. And so let me give you some examples.
Okay.
1904. Now, you think I'm pretty old, but I wasn't around in 1904. Hey, Robert, okay?
You're not that old, Doc.
Not until 1910, you probably think, right? 1904. Most educators don't even know what happened in 1904, but it defined our schools of the 20th century.
Right.
Carnegie Unit was created.
Carnegie Unit, definitely.
By Carnegie Foundation. And it said that 180 hours equals 1 unit in K-12.
Right.
Or in higher ed, 3 credit hours equals 180 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It defined our system. And then we organized our courses around that. Mm-hmm. And we began to put them in individual boxes.
Right.
Okay. And then we built our master schedule around that.
Right.
And then we regulated and certified and tenured our teachers around that. And then we tested the kids around it. And it was around, and it created what I call a proficiency model.
Right.
You have 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the same, are they?
Not even close, Doc. Not even close.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I got 5.
Right.
They're not even close.
Not even close, Doc.
Is there any teacher on God's green earth that can
Mm-hmm.
take your 2 kids or my 5 kids, have them for the exact same amount of time, and get them exactly to the same place.
Man,
It's crazy.
it's
That's the
crazy.
20th
The
century.
concept of it all, right, Doc?
Yeah, it's the 20th century model. It makes,
Right,
because we didn't know how else to do it.
right.
But with the advancement of AI, where we can begin to personalize instruction for every single child,
Mm-hmm.
this concept of the Carnegie unit defining what we do in our organizational structures make no sense.
Right,
So a future focused instructional system or district, what it's trying to do is saying, look, let's figure out how we transition from that
mm-hmm.
20th century system,
Right,
which because of No Child Left Behind and the standards movement became, once you got beyond mid elementary school, became so centered on content
right.
because that's what we could assess.
Exactly.
And we organized the teachers around it and the whole system around it.
That's it.
And that's not what the portrait of a graduate calls for.
Exactly.
I
Skills.
can't find content anywhere in any portrait of a graduate. I
Right.
can't find it content in the McKinsey report,
Exactly.
the Deloitte report,
Below it,
any of
no, neither one of them.
it. And so we had to have this shift from content, which became our objective,
Right.
to
Skills.
content becoming the enabling objective. You still got to have knowledge,
Exactly.
but the objective is skills.
Exactly.
That requires a transformation of the system. And
Exactly.
that's what a future focus system is.
You know what, Doc? I mean, you always put it so eloquently, right? I mean, you just make it plain, Doc. You make it practical for people. But the pattern has been, we talked to Dr. Jeremy Batchelor over in Youngstown. He talked about skills. We talked to Mike McCormick out in Val Verde, and he talked about skills. And this piece of we have to teach the content, but the focus has got to be on skills. And it's got to be on building a system to ensure that children are ready for a future that hasn't happened yet, right? So you have to really begin to build a team around you. And Jeremy talked about building a team around him to actually start that process. And segueing, Doc, building a team, folks, and actually bringing a team. We're going to be in June at the Future Focus Conference. Folks, bring a team out. You're going to have Dr. Daggett. We're going to have Mike McCormick. We're going to have leaders like Dan Bridges. We're going to have leaders like Jeremy Batchelor, teachers there in June. There's a link at the bottom of your actual screen there. Click on it. We're going to be at the Future Focus Conference, really talking about what are these characteristics of building a future focus, really a portrait of a future focus system, and then the how, not the what as much, but the how do you get there. Doc, I always appreciate talking to you, Doc. Every time the Doc talks, you guys remember that old E.F. Hutton? You remember that E.F. Hutton commercial? It says, when E.F. Hutton talks, everyone listens. Doc, thank you so much for taking some time out to really talk through what a portrait of a future focused system looks like. And folks, come to the Future Focus Success Conference. We're looking forward to seeing you there. Be a part of the family, how we're growing and building future focused schools for all children.